Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. First half of the show, we had head coach Todd Bowles. Now I am so excited to be joined by running back coach Skip Peete. Skip, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I pride myself on my selection of coaches for this week, that I had talked to you about doing this even before the game happened, and I feel like what a perfect timing as your group just went off, even with Rashad being injured, and just these guys performing at such a high level. But before we even get into that, I just wanted to hear in your mind what this win meant to the team, because we know division wins on the road already huge deal.
Correct.
Factoring in everything that happened with the hurricane and the city, what did this feel like in the moment going into the game and coming out of it, of the weight of it?
Well, I mean, obviously with the situation going on here with the hurricane and then things like that, you obviously want to know if your family's going to be safe. And, you know, obviously the community, if it's going to be safe. So you got a lot of other things on your mind besides just the game. Then you got to get your family situated. Are they going to be in a safe place? And then once that's all situated, now you got to dive back into football, which I thought our guys did a good job of this week. But, I mean, when you have natural disasters and things like that happen, I mean, you obviously, it takes a little toll on your mind. You want to make sure that all your loved ones and obviously neighbors, friends, and people like that are all safe and secure.
And then 277 yards rushing as a team. First time to pass 200 yards rushing in 4 years as an organization, and your guys averaged 5.8 and 9.7 yards per carry. That is not too shabby. Tell me why this game was suddenly the ground explosion that I'm sure as a running back coach just warms your heart.
No, I mean, that was a very, very, very big number that we had. I mean, that was an enjoyable game to watch, but you never ever know if those are going to happen. I mean, I think the thing we went into the game, we thought we had opportunity to run the ball against them. We thought we had, you know, a good scheme and to attack the defense that they're going to present to us. But, I mean, those games like that are far and few between. I mean, I'm excited we had that. I think, obviously, with Rashad not being able to go this week, I mean, the young guys took it upon themselves to obviously have ability to showcase what they're capable of doing. And I think they did a good job of playing extremely hard, playing physical, playing fast. Sometimes, you know, things aren't completely designed how they're supposed to be designed, and people kind of do their own thing and make plays, and, you know, from time to time that happened during the game.
I like it. And Bucky, 81 yards rushing and a touchdown. Tell us about his game specifically and what stood out in this matchup.
Well, I mean, obviously he had an opportunity to start the game, and I was going to utilize those guys pretty much at about a 50-50 throughout the course of the game so they wouldn't get tired. I mean, obviously these guys haven't had opportunity to play an extended period of time.
Yeah.
So, like I explained to them both, that they're both were going to play. We're going to split time. We're going to try to keep you both fresh throughout the entire game. So 5 or 6 plays in, look to be ready to be replaced. Now, I mean, I typically change that once you get down near the goal line. If you've gotten us down there, I kind of want to have you have opportunity to score. So I will tend to leave you in. But I thought both of them prepared very well during the course of the week. I thought they had a complete understanding of what we were trying to get accomplished. I thought they played within themselves. I mean, they didn't try to do too much. The one thing about both those guys is they're very, very prideful in what they think they can do. And I think when you get in a situation like we had the other day, it kind of becomes a competition. You know, a guy gets in there, he has some success, he gains yards, or he catches the ball, he makes a play, then the next guy is up, then he wants to showcase what he's capable of doing. And I think that was kind of what you saw on Sunday.
We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete. You know, I know Bucky would love to have that fumble back at the end of the Falcons game, but what did it say to you as his coach, watching him deal with that as a rookie in a big moment, and then the very next week be told, you know, he's getting all these reps because of injuries, and just the way he handled the adversity of, again, the hurricane, all of that, the fumble and tough loss the week before, right, as a rookie to take all that on?
No, I mean, obviously he was hurt at that particular time, but I mean, I think the most important thing we talked about right after that was you got to let that go. I mean, this isn't going to be the first time you fumble. I hate to say it, but yep, it's not.
Yep.
And you got a long career ahead of you. It's one play. Obviously, in those type of situations, you don't ever want to fumble. Really, you don't ever want to fumble, but those things happen from time to time. The most important thing is that you do get another opportunity to go out there a series later to carry the ball again, and now you got to, you know, showcase that you're capable of protecting the football and sustaining the ball and continuing the drives in the offense. And I think he did that. Now, as far as starting, I don't think Bucky really thought that much about it. He just figured, well, I'm going to be playing. You know, I mean, he doesn't get nervous. He's not that type of person. I think he's very, very positive and confident in what he's capable of doing. Studies the game plan, studies the defenses, and you know, I mean, I think he's mentally and physically ready to go when we get ready to play an opponent. Now, Sean obviously has been here for a year and hasn't really had a whole lot of opportunities to showcase what he's capable of doing, but Sean is an extremely talented player. I mean, good size, good speed, runs with good contact balance. I think he's a lot faster than a lot of people realize. And he showcased that on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that, yeah, but like you said, before this game, Sean Tucker had 53 yards of total offense at this point. But then in this game, 136 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown, and then 56 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. What impressed you most about this game and what he did? Was this the Sean you have seen in those limited opportunities, or did he just take it to a whole new level this game?
I totally feel like this was Sean I saw last year in training camp. And then all of a sudden, you know, I don't know exactly what happened, but week 4 or 5 last year, things weren't, you know, as positive for him. And a couple games there where, you know, he kind of struggled a couple times. But, I mean, he never lost, you know, focus and drive. It's just your opportunities become more limited. And, you know, once you do get an opportunity, I mean, like I explained to all of them, I mean, you never know. We need everybody because you never know when someone's going to get either sick or get nicked or whatever. The next guy up has got to be ready to go. And you never know when that's going to happen. And, you know, he's always been ready. He's always worked hard. He stayed focused and stays in the book and knows exactly what we have to do. And then, you know, his opportunity presented itself on Sunday. And I thought he did a great job of preparing himself all week and staying dialed in. And, I mean, he went out there and showcased what he has capabilities of doing.
Can you take us through the 3 different touchdowns that your guys accounted for in this game? And technically, Bucky got 2 chances at it. Again, just like before, it's like he has to get 2 different touchdowns each time that he tries.
Yeah, he got there. He got right to the goal line, and, I mean, they called him short. But then, obviously, we gave him an opportunity on the next play. But, I mean, I thought they did a good job of, in those situations, especially on Bucky's, because it was in tight quarters. It's a very physical play down there when the defense knows you're going to try to punch the ball in on the goal line. So there isn't a whole lot of space. So you got to be a very physical and dominant. But we got to give a lot of credit to the offensive line. When the backs have a lot of success, it's really the entire offense. I mean, you have to have the offensive line obviously doing their job, as well as the receivers and tight ends getting in position to block the 2nd and 3rd level defenders. And then obviously as the backs, we got to be disciplined in our course footwork to basically set 2nd and 3rd level blocks for those guys. And then once we see an opening, we got to accelerate through it. And I think they did a good job of that on Sunday. But Bucky did that on the goal line. I mean, the first one, he small space, accelerated the crease, and got down to like the half-yard line. And then we got back on the ball and called the same play, and then he had opportunity to score. Sean's first touchdown, I want to say, was actually a check down pass. So he actually checked his protection. The line had everyone secured. Then he leaked out to the right, caught the ball in the flat, and then he made a very nice run afterwards. And, you know, he outran a couple guys and then split 2 defenders about the 5 or 7 yard line to score that first touchdown. The second one was an unbelievable run, in my opinion, because technically he was supposed to run the ball to the right. But for whatever reason, everything got collapsed. And he took it all the way out the back door and just utilized his speed and outran the defense. So both those guys did a nice job when they had opportunities to get close to the goal line and punch the ball in.
That's pretty incredible. And then, you know, for you going into this game, how did you try to handle getting them ready when everything was so weird? Because we talk about the fact that NFL players are such creatures of habit, and nothing was habit this week leading up to it. As a coach, what was your mindset of, did you try to do everything the same as normal, or did you feel like you needed to do something a little different to make sure that your guys were ready to play? Because I'm thinking whatever you did, you should keep doing it, because that obviously worked really well.
Well, I think the most important thing is, I mean, like early on when we first arrived in New Orleans, obviously you got to make sure everyone's situated. You know, I have younger guys, so they technically don't have large families. They have girlfriends. None of them are married. Rashad has, you know, children. So, you know, is everyone okay? Everyone situated properly? You good?
Yep.
Because once, you know, your family's situated and you know they're fine and they're all set up, then you can focus on what you have to get accomplished for that week. And I thought they all did a good job of that, the entire team. You know, guys were, you know, dialed in to what they needed to do. I mean, obviously, it was no different than being here, except we were in a hotel.
Right.
You know, so you had your typical normal work week where you'd come in, you have meetings, then you go to practice, then you come back, you watch the film, and then you would go home here. But there, you obviously went from a ballroom to upstairs to your hotel room. But the dynamics were pretty much the same, but, you know, obviously it was a totally different environment.
What do you remember for you about, now that, you know, we've watched Bucky just start out his rookie year so strongly, what do you remember about his college tape, his pre-draft experience that made you and the rest of the scouting department and everybody say, this guy could be something?
I think when you look at running backs, I think the most important thing that you want them to be able to do is gain yards. I mean, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I mean, everyone's unique in that way, and the styles are different. And you know, is it something that's going to fit what your philosophy as far as your system is concerned? Does that going to be a fit for you? And I thought, you know, in watching them play, they really didn't run the plays we run, but he was capable of understanding how to set second level blocks, understanding how to run off of a puller and a blocker in front of him, and, you know, creating space for himself once he did get in the open field and then had enough burst and speed to run away from defenders. I mean, that's probably the prototype back you would like in every situation. Now, they're all different. Some guys are a little bit more streamlined where they may be speed burners, but they're not really elusive, you know, but that also works as well. So with him, he kind of had the ability to create a lot of space on his own. If plays broke down, he had the ability to always make the first and possibly the second guy miss and then get chunks of yards afterwards. And that is something that, you know, excites any running back coach, because not every play is going to be completely blocked exactly like you diagram it.
Yep.
So you as a back, you have to do your part, and that part is obviously lining up correctly, utilizing the proper footwork, utilizing the proper course, and understanding how the O-line is supposed to block and set these guys. And once you do that, then it becomes reactionary running. So, I mean, if they're over there, I'm going to run over there.
Yeah.
So.
I like it. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Buccaneers Total Access. We are going to be back in just a few minutes here with running back coach Skip Peete, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. I have got running back coach Skip Peete here with me. We were right before the break talking about what you saw in Bucky's film before he came here. What have you seen so far in terms of his personality, his approach to his rookie year, and what he's brought to your room from that side?
Bucky is a very, very interesting guy. And the reason I say that is that for a very young guy, he's very focused and driven. He would give you the opinion, or you would get the opinion of him that he's more of a 4 or 5 year veteran. I typically get in the building very early. He usually walking in the building with me.
Wow.
And I mean, you know, a lot of young guys, you got to explain to them what the process, as far as your approach to the weekly process of taking care of your body, preparing each and every week on, you know, cut-ups and studying your opponent and things of that nature. And I think he's already kind of had that kind of ingrained in him prior to getting here. So he gets here early, he works on his body, then he goes and watches film and studies linebacker, studies the D-line, and gets a feel. And I think, I mean, most of them do it, but he does it a little bit earlier than everybody else. But nothing really phases him. I mean, I know he was hurt last week with the fumble, but for the most part, he's an extremely, extremely confident and, driven guy. And, that's somebody that's, kind of hard to keep down.
Yeah, that's great. And then now, Rashad, you've had a few years here with him. What have you seen as his growth since you started working with him?
Rashad is obviously, I think the biggest thing with him has been his just confidence and trust in the system and what you're supposed to do as the back. Sometimes, we feel we can create certain things and do it to help the system. But a lot of times, if you stick to staying within the system structure, you generate more big plays than you do trying to just generate them on your own. And I think a great example was last week against Atlanta. Did we play Atlanta last week?
Yeah.
But
it feels like 10 years ago now.
It does feel like a long time ago. But no, he felt more comfortable, more relaxed, and all of a sudden, he pops a big run. And I said, that's how it happens. You don't have to try to create them. They naturally happen. So usually if you try to create them, then it becomes a minimal gain or a no gain. So, I think that's one of the biggest things. The thing that he's always had the ability to do is he's a very, very talented player in space as far as running pass routes, catching the ball out of the backfield, and a tremendous understanding of pass protections and things of that nature. So, he's a sharp young player, and he'll only get better as well. It's unfortunate that he's got injured here, but he'll come back, and I've always felt you can never have too many running backs.
Yeah.
As
we saw in this game.
And the thing I think that puts a little bit more pressure on a defense is when you have backs that have contrasting styles. And what I mean by that is that if you have a guy that's real fast, he may be a little bit more straight lined, but they got to honor his speed. Then there's guys that may be a pounder, that the physicality of his runs and his play, they got to have the courage to come up there and make the tackle. Then you got guys that are kind of like our guys, which are somewhat elusive, and so you got to basically stay in your spot. You got to funnel those guys to your help to make sure that you get them down, because a lot of times the first guy is not going to get them.
Right.
So, depending on who's in the game, they got to adjust to that. And, because Sean, in my opinion, I think is more of a slasher type, where he's more of an angle runner, put his foot in the ground, then he's going to make a decision and then try to utilize his speed. Rashad is somewhat that in the way that he's more of, I'm going to set my angle on my course, I'm going to put my foot in the ground, I'm going to get north and south, and not a whole lot of jumping and darting, trying to make people miss.
Yeah.
Because that's not typically his game. But then Bucky has the ability to do that. But what he does do is he still runs physical inside, Bucky does, even for a guy that's not real large of a man.
That's interesting. We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete. So now, do you have sort of the privilege of having a problem of three really talented guys that you're all going to be trying to get the ball to? And I know Coach Bowles said in the first half of this show that Sean definitely made a case for a three-headed monster situation, which, again, like you said, you can never have too many running backs.
Never have too many.
In your mind as the running back coach, what's the ideal situation moving forward of when Rashad is back healthy? Are you going to be able to find ways to have a three-headed monster here?
Yeah, I think it's easy in my position, because I just say go in the game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they go in there. And it worked out like last week. I think both of them had 14 carries, but who knows? There may be a week where you're in there for 30 plays, but the majority of those plays might be passes.
Right.
And then you may be in there for 30 plays, and a lot of them may be runs. So a lot of times the games dictate that, but also it's kind of hard once you get somebody in there that gets hot to say, all right,
yeah, you want to keep feeding them,
stay out.
Yeah.
So, I've had that situations before where, one guy gets going and then all of a sudden, you play him a little bit more. But you can't obviously wear him out because, in my opinion, in this day and era, you know, a lot of the guys aren't used to playing an extremely long period of time.
Right.
You look at most college football teams, and even in the NFL now, majority of the teams are utilizing multiple backs. So, you know, most of the guys are playing between, you know, 35, 40, and then if it's more of, you know, a lead back and then a complementary back, you have maybe a 60-40. But, I mean, a lot of guys are having 3 and 4 guys play. And I was fortunate enough years ago where we had 3 or 4 guys play. And, you know, it became a competition between those guys because they want to showcase what they're capable of doing. So when they get their opportunity in the game, they're going to give you the best.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I think it makes the room fun. Now, there's no room for jealousy. I mean, we all are here for one thing. We're here to win games for the Bucs.
Yep.
And one week might be yours, the next week might be his, but as you look at it, we're all here for one reason, and that's to win games for the Bucs.
That's great. And Liam Cohen coming in, new offensive coordinator. What has he done well for the run game? What do you like about his scheme and just the energy that he's been able to bring to this area?
I think the thing that Liam brings is obviously the complement. What we do as far as the run game and pass game is concerned is that he blended a lot of things together. When you go back and look at, I mean, the history of where he came from, I mean, I had opportunity to work with Liam years ago with the Los Angeles Rams, and, you know, I mean, you have to make things look the same, you know, but give a different look to the defense. So I think he's done a good job of blending, you know, the passing games, the shifts, motions, and everything together to keep the defense off, you know, I mean, on their toes about where they need to fit, what they need to do to try to stop, whether it's the run, play action pass, you know, ends around. So, I mean, a lot of different things coming at you, but they kind of look the same.
And you brought up, of course, run game ain't nothing without the O-line, y'all's
Right.
favorite people out there. What stands out to you about that group and the way they've taken to his scheme and the way they've tried to grow? I mean, a few new pieces, and then obviously Luke being injured. We know that that's always
Right.
really hard on that group to have new people thrown in there. So what have you seen from them and what they've been able to do for your guys and how they've handled some of the adversity of new people?
No, I think they've worked their butt off and they've done a great job of, I mean, understanding exactly what we're trying to get accomplished as far as the plays are concerned. The plays are part of it. Then you got to block the people in front of you. So each week there's going to be somebody you have to be really aware of where they're located and who's helping so-and-so on so-and-so. And the back has to understand that. The line has to understand that. The tight ends have to understand that. And we got to make sure that the back knows, hey, my course, my press of the heels of the old lineman is extremely important to keep that guy in a certain leverage to help the lineman and help them be able to come off on the second level. But I think, I mean, those guys have been working their butt off since day one, and I think they do a hell of a job. And, I mean, it's always fun to get together, I think, as a group and talk through things sometimes. And, you know, you get a perspective of what the line is anticipating the back to do, and then you have a perspective of what the back sees and anticipates the line to do. And then once everyone can speak the same language and understand exactly how it should look and how it's supposed to be, and then that's when you have games like we had this past weekend.
All right, we're going to take one more break here on Buccaneers Total Access. We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete, brought to you by Advent Health. This is Buccaneers Radio. Welcome back into Buccaneers Total Access. I am joined by running back coach Skip Peete. I know right before the break we talked about the offensive line, but man, also I know Kate Otten threw some really important blocks for you guys,
Right.
and Chris Godwin has the reputation of always being willing to do what it takes, and it just seems like the other skill positions that may be around the league are not always people that are the most excited to participate in that part of the game. It feels like we've got a lot of guys that are more than willing and also very able to do really well. How much does that play a part in what you guys are able to do, and even for you as a coach knowing that?
No, I mean, the run game or passing game, it's really everybody. It's all 11 players in all positions. So the receivers are just as big a part of how well and how success the run game goes as the line or the backs. Because once you crack that first line of defense, now you're trying to attack the second and third level defenders, and there's got to be people in position to make blocks on those guys. So I think our offensive guys understand that. I think our receivers understand that. I think our tight ends understand that. So I think that has never been a problem. I think the biggest thing is spreading the wealth. I mean, they know that in the running game I got to do my part, because the next part of the system is we're going to throw the ball. And now the line's blocking for me, the backs are blocking for me, and then I have to have the ability to obviously get open and make the catch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then now facing the Ravens on Monday Night Football, not a small task. And I know for you guys, let's dive into a little bit of what do you see from their defensive front in particular with the Ravens. I know their offense gets a whole lot of the attention for various reasons that are very deserved. But tell us, for people who don't know much about this defensive front you'll be facing.
No, I mean, I think they're obviously a very talented group. They've had the same type of system for a while, and I mean, they present problems because they create matchups with big guys inside, and then they have the ability to obviously cover you in stunts and blitzes and keep you on your toes, and you got to be sound going against this structure. It's going to be a very, very physical game. That's the nature when you play Baltimore. So it's going to be another dogfight like we just had. So we got to do a good job as far as being completely sound in what we do and not take anything for granted. But the most important thing is that we got to take care of the people that could possibly create problems. I mean, I know the linebacker groups have been typically in the history of that defense have been very talented and very physical and very vocal, and they've always had a sound physical secondary that's not afraid to come up and make tackles on whether it's the receiver or backs. So Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah.
We're talking to running back coach Skip Peete. I feel like I got to ask you about Derrick Henry. Tell me, as a running back coach, when you watch a guy like him, and then now him in this offense as compared to his time in Tennessee, and maybe even also at this age where it just does not seem like he is helping us out by aging as rapidly as we would have hoped as well. So tell me what stands out as you watch a guy like him and what it's like to try to face him.
Now, let me say this. Derrick is unique in a way that he's a huge man.
Yeah.
Very big, very big. And I'll never forget when very first time I met him at the combine. He walked up and I looked at him, I was like, well, how tall are you? He said, about 6'2", 6'3". But then his waist was like at my armpit.
Yeah.
And I was like,
He's all
this guy's
leg.
got long legs.
Yeah.
But for a guy that size, he still has the ability to bend and get low enough to drive and, puncture through holes and things of that nature or move the pile. I mean, he obviously has been an extremely talented runner for a long period of time. But the thing that puts a little bit more stress on a team that they're facing now is the element of him carrying it, but also of Lamar pulling it and carrying it.
Yep.
In
can't fully
Tennessee all
commit.
those years, it was simply turn around and hand it to him. And you really didn't have to worry about the quarterback really running with the football. You may have to worry about a receiver maybe on a fly sweep or jet sweep or an around, but in this system that they run, it presents a little bit different, beast to the defense because you have pullers, you have possible fly sweep runners, you have possible Derrick Henry up the middle, then you have possible Lamar pulling the ball and running it. And I mean, it's a lot of things coming at you at one time. So, and then he's a big physical downhill runner that over time, he kind of wears on you. So, I mean, I've always enjoyed watching him because he's a big physical man, that gets very fast.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
He's unique.
He really is, that's for sure.
Very unique.
So for you, looking at your three guys here, what would you say are your goals for each of them, or as the group overall, as you look at the rest of the season, to say, you know, if you were to tell them right now, hey, this is what I want to see from you Monday night, this is what I want to see from you moving forward, what would be those things for those three guys?
The most important thing I would probably tell them was that you gotta prepare each and every week like you are the guy, because you may have to be the guy. And I think they kind of do that, and they all understand that there's a chance that they're going to play, but they don't know exactly how much. Mm-hmm. But you got to prepare that way. But the only thing we can do as a running back group is we got to completely understand the blocking scheme, protection scheme, and route concepts that we're involved in. We got to play as physical, as violent, and as fast as we can play on every play. Now, if you feel like you're getting tired, come out.
Yep.
Because we got another guy that's going to be fresh that can go in there and do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt if you have a fresh back in the game at all times, you present a little bit more pressure on the defense. And they got to be willing to withstand that constant pounding and pressure coming at them. You know, I mean, the days and ages of, you know, the Emmets and the Berries and guys that were in there for every play, I mean, that hasn't been around for a while. I mean, Derek's kind of been the last guy to do that for a while, but you look at most teams, they're utilizing 2-3 guys every game, and I think a fresh back coming at you is something that presents a little bit more stress to the defense and contrasting styles.
Yeah.
Years ago, I'm going to revert back to years ago. Working in Oakland, we had 6 backs, and it was crazy because we had all 6 up for every game. Because 4 of them were on core special teams, so they were helping out especially, but they also were playing on offense. And when you have contrasting styles, it presents a little bit different thing to the defense because all of a sudden speeds are different. So if you run the same play with a guy and he's a pounder, he's pounding, and then all of a sudden you run the exact same play with a guy that's a lot faster, then the angles that the defense has to take to make the tackle become different. So instead of me splitting the defense, the safety's reacting, coming up making a tackle on a power guy, then all of a sudden you insert a speed guy or a elusive guy, then all of a sudden the same exact play, they take their same drops and reaction to make the tackle, but now the guy's 5 yards or 6 yards further up the field, so their angles get screwed up. So it creates a little bit different, dynamic to the defense. But the most important thing is, I mean, those guys, they all know they're going to have opportunity to play. And like anything, when you have your opportunity to play, get in there, showcase what you're capable of doing, and have fun doing it.
I like that. I like that a lot. Finally, do you have numerical goals for your guys ever in terms of based on, yards per carry, things like that? Are you guys a numerical goal room?
No, I mean, everyone always states the 4 yards a carry is the model of what you would like to have. And, I mean, typically that's what everyone judges everybody on. But I've always felt if we continue to run the ball with physicality and finish runs, you will accomplish that. Now, some games against stout defenses, you may not average 4, but you may get 2, you may get 3, you may get 1, you may get 0, then you may get 7, then you may get 2. The constant pounding eventually will wear them down. And then later in the game, that 2-yard run you had in the first quarter becomes a 8-yard run in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So you got to keep pounding and keep pounding.
Well, that's the plan
pounding.
Monday night, I'm sure. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be a physical game, so I mean.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time, and congrats on a great win there in New Orleans.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, and that's going to do it for us here on Buccaneers Total Access, brought to you by AdventHealth. This is Buccaneers Radio.